Billing adjustments and corrections. Now that we've learned how to enter payments and charges, we need to understand more about the adjustments. We've seen adjustments with our payments, for instance, when the insurance company has you adjust off based on contract. But there are other reasons that we may need to adjust. Let's go into a test account. And let's look at that. We'll go into this patient here. And let's go ahead and create a new charge and go through a couple things. I'll go ahead and give them a diagnosis of that and just do an office visit. And I'm going to save that. My alternate and O allows me to go ahead and click the OK. I'm going to do another sequence, same diagnosis. And remember, I could be dragging and dropping from below. I'm going to do a 99212 on this one just so I remember the difference. But this one, I'm also going to post a time of service payment of cash for $10 and hit save. And OK. OK just readies those claims. So both of these claims are at a ready status for going to insurance. So let's talk about adjusting. And I just created those just so we'll have a couple of examples that we can adjust with. But let's talk about adjusting and editing. Notice this checkbox. To the left of the date of service, I would want to click one time on the row and then put a check mark. Watch your menu here. It's going to change. With that menu change, you'll notice that an edit claim opens up, change responsibility, sequence note, and a couple of other options open up. For the purpose of this training, let's look, we'll go in order. New allows us to create a new patient sequence. Payments and adjustments, with this row highlighted, sequence number 4, that would allow me to go ahead and note an adjustment. I can simply come in here and do just an adjustment and with a $0 payment if needed. Next, if we wanted to do a sequence note, I can come in here and I can key in any words here and save that information. The system will allow only administrators to edit notes put on the system by a user or the user that created them. When I hit accept, that note stays there. And if I come out of here and go back into that patient, you'll notice the red line. The red line is there because that's telling me there are notes associated with that row, and I only need to put the check mark in there and go look and see what the notes are. Anybody can read the notes that has access, but only the author or an administrator can delete the notes. We also can look at notes put on by user. So these are individual notes. Anybody can come in here and create new note section and type a new note here. I'm not going to save that. Uniposting, remember that just allows me to take, and if I have multiple patient responsible rows, post a single payment and stripe it across those rows. And we'll look at that shortly. Change responsibility. If I needed to change responsibility for whatever reason, this should not be sitting at the insurance, I would hit change responsibility. System's automatically going to change the aging date based on current day. You can override that by using the calendar. Or you can just say OK. It's going to rotate it to the next responsibility in row or in order. So responsibility goes from primary insurance to secondary insurance to tertiary insurance to patient. You would have to continue to do a change responsibility for each step you wanted to skip. So if I was on primary and this patient had 3 insurances and I wanted to just move it to patient, I would have to do change responsibility 3 times to move it from primary, from secondary, from tertiary to eventually get to patient. Next you have edit claim. Edit claim has a lot of features, and let's go over those. Edit claim allows me to come in and make edits to the claim. Additionally, I can change the responsibility here rather than having to go from change responsibility like we discussed before. I can simply come and say make this patient responsible by hitting that bill flag. The X is primary insurance responsibility, and that's the default for any patient with primary insurance. The Y flag indicates that it's a secondary or tertiary insurance, and there may be some patient responsibility with that. For instance, primary has a co-insurance that the patient, or a copay that the patient must pay, but there's going to be a portion of this sent out to a secondary or tertiary payer. The system will generate both of those. It'll allow you to generate what is patient responsible and what's insurance responsible. And finally, your N bill flag is a non-insurance responsibility or patient responsibility. Next, you have status. Status is automatically set to print when you create a new claim. You can override this by setting it to hold if maybe you're pending some type of information like a unit measure on an injection or so forth. Or if you know the claim's already been processed and you're just simply recreating it for some reason, you can set it to processed. What processed means is the system shows the claim, but it shows that it's pending payment if there's no payment posted. If it's set at processed, the system will never generate a paper or electronic claim from that particular data service or claim. In order to generate a claim, it must be set to a print status, and that will allow you to send it out electronically or print it to paper. Finally, you have the diagnosis pointer field, which allows you to associate the different diagnosis numbers, 1 through 8, with the code being billed out. The bottom section is your claim transaction screen, where you can have injury dates if you're doing work comp or injury related insurance billing. You'll see your accept assignment flag, and that must be set in order for the practice to get paid for the claim. That is set at the claim level, at the plan level, but you can override it here as well. Authorization numbers, if associated, would be showing here. Your referring physician would be showing here. And if you don't have an if you have a field or you know the referral doctor number, you can just put that number in. Or you can start typing a partial last name to bring that in. Or you can put a % sign and bring up the whole screen and choose from the selections available. And you can continue reading through these fields. Some of the commonly used ones are the ones that I've touched on, like block 19 as well. If you're doing UB billing, you'll find some of that information in UB setup under the extra button. And finally, under the more button is where you'll find your adjustment or adjudication information on a claim, as well as claim level information. Or going into this little icon here, the sheet of paper, and choosing line level for your drug loop if you're doing any kind of injections that require unit measure, count, price, etc. So that is your edit claim window. This allows you to do multiple things. We'll recap because there's quite a bit here. I can change details of the claim itself. I can add the claim transaction information such as injury dates, referring doctor, authorization, block 19 information. I can also access UB information under the extra button, or under the more screen, I can access adjudication information, line level information, drug loop information. I have the ability to change the bill flag so that it's pointing or setting to the appropriate responsibility. Y, the X being primary insurance, Y being secondary and tertiary insurance, and the N flag being non-insurance but patient responsibility. I can change the status. The status is what determines whether or not a claim can be produced on the system. If it's set to a print status, the claim will, or the system will allow the claim to be either sent electronically if configured to do so, or drop it to paper. I can select processed if the claim's already been processed and I'm merely just making some edits and need it to not send the claim back out the door. And finally, I can set it to a hold status. Hold allows the system to keep the claim information, but not generate an actual electronic or paper claim because there's missing information. And until I release it out of the hold status, it will remain as an open claim on the system in a hold status. And finally, you have your diagnosis pointer field, allowing you to associate the appropriate diagnosis fields 1 through 8 with the particular code. What other menus do we have? Split. If I have multiple charges on a claim, this is commonly used for situations where you have some charges that will be billed to insurance and others that will be going to patient, like maybe a school physical, and I had a couple of different charges. I would be able to modify the original sequence, create a new sequence, and use this tool to edit those. If you need more training on that, please let your training rep know, and we'll go into more detail. Batch options we've already discussed in our payment posting. Void. Void, remember, allows you to do a couple things. Void will allow you to void a sequence. However, you can only void a sequence that contains charges. If the sequence contains any kind of write-off, adjustment, or payment, like this one, the system is not going to allow you to void that. And let me go ahead and just demonstrate that for you. I'm going to go ahead and check mark that and hit my void button. And it's telling me only charges can be void, and this sequence contains more than charges. However, if I come to this other one that we know only has a charge, and I hit my void, it's automatically going to allow me to void that, and that is gone. It has appropriately adjusted that off the system and zeroed it out. Let's go ahead and look at copy. If I wanted to copy a sequence, the system will let me do that. A reason you might do this is because you have a very common visit type for a particular patient, and I say, oh, they came in again to have the same treatment. I just want to hit copy. I don't want to have to key everything again. It's still hypertension. It's still just an office visit. The only thing the system will do is it will change the date based on the current date. I can edit anything I want to. I can add a new row if I want to. And once I'm done, I can hit save. And that's how easy it is to create a new claim once you've started using the system. The copy feature allows you to do that. Next, can I delete that? A sequence with a non-zero balance cannot be deleted. I can print a claim. I can print a receipt for the date of service selected. And here's what your receipt would look like. By checking multiple dates of service, I can print a receipt for more than one date. And once I have printed, this is what your patient receipt would look like. It would include the different dates of service and the charges and payments associated. So let's talk about how we would remove a payment that was maybe posted in error or a charge that was posted in error. There are a number of ways to do this. You can go into the sequence itself and just right-click on the item. If I wanted to get rid of this drug screen because I didn't intend to have that on there, that was a mistake, I would just right-click and choose the Adjust button. The system's automatically going to do everything it needs to do. All you have to do is drag and drop that dollar and hit Save. It's going to appropriately zero out the charge or payment, and it'll show you that here. This line and this line together equals 0. Now, if you want to leave these on the screen so that you have a clear audit trail, you can do that. Additionally, because they zero each other out, it will allow you to delete those rows. The deleted transactions are stored in the patient's account under Demographic Patient Log. With those 2 rows deleted, I hit save. When I come back into this particular sequence, I'm not seeing my mistake. It's completely gone and the system is in balance. If I try to delete a row without properly reversing it, and I go to save, the system is not going to let me. It's telling me I have not, the sum of 2 rows does not equal 0, and I have not properly deleted it. It brings it right back. It will not allow you to delete that. Let's just say that it was a payment that had to be reversed. Like this cash payment of $10 was incorrect. I have some different options. I can adjust it, and that's going to take it off just like we did the charge. It'll use the appropriate codes. I can also transfer it, and transfer allows me to do a couple things. Because I'm in patient account number 1007, it's telling me, well, here's the different places you might want to transfer the money. Additionally, I can come in here, and if I have another account I've posted today on my day sheet, it will allow me to move and put the money on even a different patient. The one thing you have to remember about transferring payments, the day sheet or the payment must be posted to an open day sheet. In other words, that day sheet where the payment was posted is not closed. Then I can move it anywhere on the system. And let's just say it was Emma's payment. I'm going to go ahead and select that row right there. And I'm going to say transfer. You'll see that money move off of the one patient account onto the other. All I have to do is drag, drop, and save. And now, when I come out of Emma, yes, I want to save. I go back into Tom. And I'm going to come into here where that $10 was posted. And you'll see it's no longer there. Let's go see how that looks on our day sheet. Billing and day sheet. Accept. And it's the last entries, so I'm just going to keep scrolling down to page 2. Here you can see where we reversed and deleted the drug screen. You can see the drug screen charge here of $41, and I can see where it was posted up here, $41. So they're going to be in the order posted. Additionally, I can see the payment of cash for Emma as $10. And because I had not closed the day sheet, or I didn't really have to reverse it, you can't see that it was ever posted to the wrong account. It just merely shows where the money actually is applied. Let's go back into our patient account, and let's come in here and let's do another right click and just make sure we go through all the options. These justifying ICD-9 and these are all scrubber items. It's an add-on product that if you subscribe to the claim scrubber, you will have. That's something that we would instruct on at the time of purchase, and we would train you on that particular service. So if you're interested in that, please let us know. The transfer, again, you can't transfer a charge, but you can only transfer a payment. A payment can be transferred within a single patient account, no matter what day sheet, whether the day sheet's open or closed, it doesn't matter. As long as you're staying in that same patient account and just moving the money to a different data service, you can do it at any time you want. However, if you're trying to transfer a payment to another patient account, the day sheet in which the payment was posted. So if my payment was posted on 11/14, that day sheet must be open that contains that payment in order for me to transfer this particular payment to another patient account. Something else to remember, when you're transferring a payment, you must transfer the entire payment amount. So I can't say the payment's $15, but I only want to move $7. It does not allow you to choose how much. It's going to move the entire payment. If for some reason you need to adjust off a portion of that payment, the best way is to go ahead and use your adjust, take the payment off completely, and then repost. If I wanted to split a $20 payment between two accounts, I would adjust, take the $20 off, post $10, and then post $10 elsewhere. Line adjustment information just allows you to see adjudication information when you're talking or needing it for a secondary. Okay, so here's another problem that's very common, and let's go into Emma's account because I think that we have a bit more to work with there. And let's go into just the first sequence and look at what we have posted. All right, so we have some insurance. Let's say that Medicare, which I know rarely happens, but they come back and they say, no, we're not. We want our 163 back. She was not eligible for the insurance. And instead of actually sending them a check, they reduce your next payment and they say, go ahead and apply Emma's 163.93 to somebody else. The way you would do that is this. And we'll have an instruction sheet for you. If you want, just ask us for this instruction sheet on how to do the reversals. So we would come in with that row highlighted. We would do a payment and adjustment. So I'm going to use my payments and adjustments. And remember, this is a payment window here. So I'm going to bypass that and I'm simply going to come up and put my 42 code. It's to adjust increased payment. And I'm going to put it for the amount, the 163.93. 163, this is the recoup amount. The next thing I'm going to do is hit new, and I'm going to put a note in here. And my note is going to say, recoup, and then maybe applied to account. I don't know, we'll just make up an account 1001.0. So I know that I adjusted this off and it was a recoup and it's being applied to this patient account. When I hit save, you'll see I now have a balance on this patient account. Additionally, if the patient truly wasn't eligible for Medicare, I would want to come in here and take off these adjustments and I would just right click on the line item and say, okay, well, if you didn't have insurance, you're also not entitled to this adjustment here. And so I'm going to save that. And I would keep coming in here and taking off whatever I wanted to. Okay, so that you can get an appropriate balance for the patient.